Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us this evening from the Royal Australian Navy is Warrant Officer Cherie Thales. This evening we are honoured to acknowledge Major General Kelvin Pham, Chief of Air Force, Republic of Singapore, and Mrs. Yvonne Pham, accompanied by Air Marshal Stephen Chappell, Chief of Air Force, and Mrs. May Chappell. We're also honoured to acknowledge Colonel John Manuai, Chief of Defence Intelligence, Papua New Guinea Defence Force, accompanied by Major General Mark Askoff, Defence Intelligence Organisation. We also warmly welcome the delegation representing the partners of Veterans Association of Australia and Wing Commander Dr. Marianne Whiting, retired, representing the Air Force Association. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Colliam Valley Central School, visiting from Colliam Valley, New South Wales, and students on behalf of Devonport Christian School, visiting from Don in Tasmania. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's vision was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us during war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Edward George Charman, who was killed during the Second World War. Edward Charman, known as Ted, was born on the 18th of April 1924 in Bunbury, Western Australia, to Ernest and Holly Charman. Growing up, he had 5 sisters, Ailsa, Glenn, Violet, Myrtle and Joyce, and a brother, Jack. Their father was a farmer who served with the 44th Battalion in France during the First World War. Ted was educated at Harvey State School and enjoyed cricket, football, tennis, swimming and athletics. He went on to study accountancy at Hartle's Commercial College during night classes and found employment as a junior clerk with the Liquid Fuel Control Board in Perth. Having served for 3 months as a cadet in the Air Training Corps, Charman enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 25th of May 1942, aged 18. He trained as a wireless operator and an air gunner, and in August was made sergeant and received his air gunner's badge. Charman embarked for overseas service from Melbourne on the 27th of September 1943, arriving in the UK in November. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, bomb aimers, wireless operators, air gunners and flight engineers who throughout the course of the war joined the British and Commonwealth squadrons based in Britain. Further specialist training followed in England, and in February 1944, Charman was promoted to Flight Sergeant. On the 28th of August, he was posted to number 467 Squadron, RAAF. As part of Bomber Command, the squadron flew the 4-engined Avro Lancaster heavy bomber. On the 9th of the 11th of November, Bomber Command launched a raid on the oil refineries in Harburg, Germany. Charman was the wireless operator and air gunner aboard Lancaster POQ, which took off from the Royal Air Force Base at Waddington at 4:30 p.m. Number 467 Squadron committed 19 aircraft to the mission, 2 of which failed to return, including Charman's Lancaster. The crew had overshot the target and was swinging around back when a wing was hit by enemy fire. It is likely that the bomb load was struck and the plane crashed near Ramoslaw, about 13 kilometres south of the target. Air Gunner Flight Sergeant Thomas Nillen was knocked out by the explosion and woke as he plummeted towards the ground. He managed to pull his parachute's ripcord and landed with a broken leg. He was made a prisoner of the Germans but survived the war. Flight Sergeant Edward Charman and the rest of the crew were killed in the crash. Also on board were Australians, Flying Officer Thomas Eyre and Flight Sergeants George French, Geoffrey Goodfellow and Edward Leake, as well as British Sergeant Harry Boardman. After the war, the remains of Commonwealth servicemen buried in Europe were examined and identified where possible. Charman and his crew were found buried near Bracknell, just south of the crash site, and they were reinterred at the Kiel War Cemetery, more than 115 kilometres to the north. Charman lies there under the inscription, "God be with you till we meet again." He was 20 years old. Ted Charman was dearly missed by his family and friends, and his crewmate Flight Sergeant Nillen, who placed in memoriam notices in newspapers for years after his death. One, inserted by his grandparents, read, "God has you in his keeping, we have you in our hearts." In 1945, his sister Glenn had a baby boy and named him William Edward, or Teddy. Flight Sergeant Edward Charman's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Edward George Charman, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.